Hi, welcome. My name is Angelina, and today we're going to be reviewing the performances on KBS Song Festival. So who is and isn't singing live according to me? We're going to see what kind of trends we can find. I know there's like company-wide trends, like SM fit clearly in their own category of performances versus JYP, and then everyone in between. And because there's so many performances, like hours worth of footage, I thought I would change the format because I usually react in real time, but I already watched them all. I took notes, I wrote down examples. I'm going to show you those examples. So let me know if you like this format better, if you like when I react in real time. I just thought there's like 30 performances. It would take all day forever. So if you're interested, then please keep on watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with friends you don't have. So we are starting with SM Entertainment, who at this point honestly are really known for their lip syncing. I don't really see any SM groups in 4th gen. I'm not negating the 2nd gen icons and their vocals, their beautiful live vocals, but today they're all lip syncing, literally. It's so rare for me to find an SM performance that is live. They usually, pre-record their vocals so that they sound so perfect, and then they don't know how to lip sync to those vocals. Naturally, of course, we have NCT Dream up first. Now, I will say my theory for award shows and honestly K-pop covers in general, unless it's like it's live performances where they're covering other group songs, unless it's that, usually on award shows and just music shows in general, if a group is covering another group song, they lip sync to it. I don't know why. I've theorized in the past that maybe it's just to avoid any scandals, If you're covering a prominent artist song and you make a mistake, like I don't know how people would really react to that. But anyways, if we think back to that Fiction cover, I remember hearing it and I was like, that is not live in the slightest. If we think back to like TXT's Replay cover, it's all lip syncing. Everybody lip syncs for covers except I would say Ateez with their mashup, their 2nd gen mashup, Goodbye Baby and View and BTS Blood, Sweat and Tears, that cover. That feels like the only exception so far. But let me know if you have any examples. Let me know your favorite covers and we can discuss if they're live or not. They're performing Candy, which was originally by HOT, who are also an SM group. So they're kind of doing like a dreams come true type thing where they're covering older SM songs, but they're seemingly still going to promote it and all that stuff. Dreams Come True had a bunch of stages. It wasn't just like a one-off cover. So I feel like that's the same thing for Candy. This is the only performance I've ever seen of it so far. So, I mean, honestly, everyone and their mothers have covered this song, but it's so cute and it's a very feel-good moment. So I'm not really mad about it. Would I say this is lip syncing? Yes. And I don't think it's just because it's a cover, because SM, again, like I said, are really known for their lip syncing. But I just wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt for the first performance that it is a cover and I don't expect them to sing live during a cover. I've really rarely ever seen that. So why do I think it's lip syncing? Well, for one, we hear one perfect, smooth, stable voice with no movement whatsoever to be heard throughout the entirety of the performance. Usually if a performance is live, at least for K-pop, you'll hear the backup track and then live vocals peeking through, though these days, those live vocals that peek through are heavily edited. So but for SM, they love going into a studio, recording the vocals, adding in some breathing sounds to make it believable. But then when they perform the songs, their mouth shapes just don't matter. I don't know how a company is going to force everyone to lip sync at said company and not teach them how to lip sync properly. Mouth shapes never match with SM. That's why it's such a telltale sign. And the first telltale sign is, of course, Mark. I feel like he gives so much energy, but then it's not reflected in the vocals. You don't hear any movement. And again, it's just not adding up. It's just not matching. And of course, there are other examples as well. I'm going to throw a couple of them in. Just overall doesn't really feel authentic to me. And because I'm not hearing any voice peeking through this track, I would be very confident in saying that it's not live. But I did want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe this year SM would have let their artists sing live. I highly doubt it, but it's a cover. So we're going to move on to other SM artists, which include, still fucking NCT. I didn't mean that in a bad way. So we do have NCT 127 with Faster and Two Baddies. I was so surprised when I was hearing them because I'm like, Two Baddies, one what? One what? Did they change it? What does it mean? I didn't understand it. And then Audrey was like, oh, it's because it's the brand name. Of course. It's funny though. I think they're saying Two Baddies, One Squad. I just thought that's so interesting because you won't be able to, it doesn't matter. I don't really care. And again, I would definitely say this is pre-recorded. Mark being one of the biggest telltale signs again. It's just like so interesting when an idol's like giving it their all. They're giving so much energy and it's just not matching what you're hearing. We also have Jaehyun's mouth shapes that aren't matching as well. Also, another example I have is Haechan's mic completely leaves his face and we hear him all the same. Like there's no change in volume, there's no change in anything. And then near the end of the performance, he's like literally holding onto his mic for his life. And I know some of you are going to argue that the mics are just that strong. So if the mic leaves his face entirely and we still hear him the same, it's because the mics are so strong, right? Like, I don't know about that. Because in Blackpink's VMA performance, I'm only mentioning this because it's the most recent example I can think of. When Lisa's sleeve, like, takes her mic away from her mouth, we stop hearing her. And then when she puts it back, we then hear her again. I feel like that's generally how that works, but I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. This mic leaving one's face thing also happened to Yuta into the Two Baddies performance. And on that note of Two Baddies, we also have Mark who is doing like a yeah at the beginning, and it doesn't feel genuine. And I know NCT do this quite a bit. I remember 2 years ago when I was reviewing NCT performances, like the things they say before they actually start the performance just didn't match at all. Yes. Which I think is such a shame because you can really like encourage so much energy. I don't know how to say that. Like you can really feel so much energy from an artist when they're like, let's go, you know, it's beautiful and I love it. So when they lip sync these parts, it grinds my gears. I love hearing idols scream in their performance, and we're going to see some actually in further examples from different groups who are like, you know, doing their best to try and scream things. But again, when we do hear vocals peeking through, they tend to be highly edited anyway. So moving on. More examples. We have this Taeyong example. You wanna ride these wheels, and then the rest of the examples I have are things I've already mentioned 1,000 times. So mouth shapes not doing their mouth shape and matching. Gonna go, we are the next, yeah? Now, I don't know why SM is so keen on making their artists lip sync. It's genuinely a company-wide thing. If you look at recent SHINee performances, recent Girls' Generation performances, it's all this perfect one singular voice, absolutely no movement, but you hear the breath sounds but the mouth shapes just aren't matching. And Audrey, my co-host for the podcast, said that they did the killing voice or something where they were singing live and it was beautiful. So we absolutely know SM artists can sing live. So why SM? What? I'm not threatening anybody, please. Overall, I'd just say it's typical NCT performances, typical SM performances at that, which brings us to aespa. So aespa and girls, obviously I predicted that it would be the exact same as NCT. And even down to like the yow! Yeah! So not only is it similar in the sense that the mouth shapes aren't matching like the NCT performances, but also the energy really doesn't match either. I find with a lot of girl groups, I feel like their companies tell them that they need to look cool. They need to have these blank expressions that often translate to looking cool. So when it comes to live performance, rather than focusing on trying to match what we're hearing, they just tried to look cool, which I think is reflective in this Karina example. She's doing a high note, but she literally just opens her mouth. There's no movement in her face while still looking so cool, which we also see with Winter as well, Ningning as well. They have these blank expressions and they basically just open their mouths. So they still look so cool while doing a high note compared to some artists who like, I've seen like challenges in the past where they count the wrinkles on an artist's forehead when they do their high notes. So they prioritize looking cool, and I have no doubt that their companies are telling them to do this, right? Over trying to make the performance convincing that it's live, because it sounds live but it doesn't look live. So we also have this example of Winter doing her high note and we can't see it that well, and that's another pet peeve of mine. When companies give idols high notes but then force them to go immediately back into the choreography before their high note is finished. So we see that exactly. She's doing her high note, quote unquote. But then she goes straight back into the choreography before she has a chance to even finish it. Like, she doesn't even get her moment. And if it was live, her high note would be screwed, which is odd because I remember specifically for some EXO performances, I don't know who it was, maybe like Baekhyun or something, like the choreography made him go off to the side so he could like belt his heart out. And then when he was done, he'd go back into the choreography. So that's a pet peeve of mine. This also happened in Black Mamba. Like, Ning Ning was doing her high note, and then she had to like go to the fucking ground and do the mamba. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't, like, SM's not even trying at this point, allegedly. Please don't sue. But anyways, if you want more examples. Overall, I'd be pretty confident in saying that this is pre-recorded. But anyways, that is basically the end of the SM performances. There are a couple other performances that fall into this category as well, of just a perfect lip sync performance that has absolutely no voices peeking through, which of course include Yena and Smiley. Now, I love Yena. I love this song. And you still can enjoy these types of performances. I mean, Smiley makes me so happy. I still enjoy it. She's so adorable. There were a couple of times where I was like, did I hear something? Wait a minute. Was that something? I just don't consider that live. If you're just hearing like little bits and pieces here and there, I don't personally consider that live when the rest of the performance is clearly lip syncing. Again, examples, mouth shapes not matching, energy not matching, the whole shebang. So I would just throw her performance into the SM pile, along with Kepler. So they did Wadada, same exact thing. Here's an example. And then of course another example. So I would put them in the SM pile as well, of just perfectly pre-recorded performances. Now, we're moving on to JYP, which is really exciting because my prediction was that we'd hear some people at least sometimes. Like, we're gonna hear something, at least something. Like, Stray Kids is on this list. We're going to hear something. Come on. And of course, Itzy, and most recently Nmixx that I started studying. However, I'm going to predict that there's going to be a mixed bag of the type of performances we're going to see, and that's only because there are special stages that JYP artists participated in, and I've not known any of these special stages, again, to be live. They tend to be painfully pre-recorded. So I'm expecting a mixed bag. I think when the groups themselves are performing, we're going to hear them. But when they do their special stages, it's going to be lip syncing. Starting with Itzy and their songs Cheshire and Sneakers. At first, honestly, I thought maybe this actually would be pre-recorded and then my theory would go down the drain. But then I did end up hearing Yeji in the chorus. Again, when we do hear vocals breaking through, they're always edited to shit. However, we do have evidence of Itzy singing during their dance practices, and they sound great. So I wouldn't doubt that they're able to blend in pretty well with the backup track and peek through time to time, which I commend JYP for, because SM, like I just mentioned, they don't give a shit. They'll make a choreography, they'll make a singer go to the fucking ground during a high note. They don't care. The choreography is there and it doesn't take into account the vocals. However, for Itzy, I feel like not only the choreography is made to prioritize live vocals, but their vocal style as well. They're just able to protrude. I don't know how to explain it. So for this performance, I would say it's live, though there are parts, of course, like in any performance, where we can clearly tell they're not actually singing. Her mouth is closed, yet we still hear her exactly the same. However, these performances differ from those pre-recorded performances because we hear two voices. We hear the backup track, or sometimes it is a pre-recorded vocal track that sounds perfect, smooth, all that jazz, like the SM performance, but we can still hear live vocals peeking through that track. For Hyejin in particular, her parts are more or less softer, so I didn't feel like I heard her the most, except in this last part actually, where it almost sounds like her voice cracked. Which we all know 4th gen voice cracks sound different because they tend to be smoothed out anyways. But I feel like I almost heard it. As for Sneakers, I do feel like I heard them a bit more in Sneakers. But I would conclude that these are live performances. However, if we look at the special stages, I think 1000% they're pre-recorded, they're lip syncing. I feel very confident in saying that. Hyejin and Chaeryeong did a Y2K hip hop medley. And you can just tell, like you can tell when Itzy are singing live versus them lip syncing. It's so clear, obvious night and day difference. Let's put an example of like fucking sneakers next to this hip hop medley and you'll see. You can hear the differences and you can definitely see the differences as well. Same for Yena's solo stage. So to conclude Itzy's performances, I would say their group performances are live with a pretty loud backup track, and the special stage is absolutely not. Which brings us to Nmixx, my new favorite JYP group. I'm like, big wave, Piajima. So let's discuss Dice and OO. I know Nmixx have just lost a member, so it'd be interesting to see how they're managing with now 6 members. My immediate thought is I can hear a voice peeking through, and actually, please tell me who this member is because I feel like I heard her the most out of everybody. I'm dying to know. I know Jinny, unfortunately. I know Lily. And I know Bae now because you guys told me in the last video. And Seohyun, which I actually kept pronouncing Sully-yoon for the longest time because I just kept reading it as Sully-yoon. Anyways, life story aside, I can hear a couple more members as well. Example. Similar to Itzy's performance, there are instances where we can tell they're not actually singing versus when we can tell that they're singing. My biggest disappointment, however, was the fact that they did Nmixx change up and did not follow it by big wave Piajima. Tears were shed. But let's move on to some more examples. This member, we can hear movement in her voice. Even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just smoothed out, we can still hear a little bit of movement. And I was like, yes, let's move on to none other than Stray Kids. My first initial observation, which does not dictate the rest of the performance, so don't come for me, is that I couldn't hear Felix and it did sound like a pre-recorded track. However, not even 2 seconds later, I did start hearing his voice. So we can all calm down, can all put our pitchforks down. It's all good. It's all good for now. With Han's rap, we hear 2 voices. However, I will make my obligatory mention that award shows, music shows, performances in general, even Western artists, their voices are getting drowned out by these smoothing filters. And I get it, but I don't love it. Just an example, this part, Han's literally yelling. He's yelling and it sounds so muted. And that's just reflective of the music industry as a whole, performances as a whole. I feel like you're never going to really find performances anymore where there's no smoothing filter. It's just, it is what it is. But also like, let the man scream. What are you doing, KBS? Similarly to the rest of their label mates, there are instances where we clearly hear them not singing versus when we can hear them singing. Though in other parts of the performance, it seems obvious that we can't hear them. However, and this is... I'm a little scared to say this because when I said it for Itzy, I know everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, like we totally get that. But as I mentioned before, boy group stands are on another level, you know? So we're going to address this gently. The Y2K hip hop medley, in my opinion, was pre-recorded just like Itzy's Y2K hip hop medley. We already know what Han sounds like live. And don't get me wrong, he's giving it his all energy wise, but he even closes his mouth before his line is over and we still hear him. Don't shoot the messenger. Same for Hyunjin and Felix, honestly. It's just, it's these like special stages, and I've never really seen these special stages live. I feel like it's so rare for these special stages to be live. But anyways. But to offer some type of consolation, we already know Stray Kids can sing live and they can do so very well. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt, you know, please. Anyways, from this point on, we're not going to be going by company. You know, we got our big 2 out of the way. I don't know where the fuck Blackpink is, but I've been waiting since 2016. It's a lost cause. Where's Treasure even? It doesn't matter. We got some big hit adjacent groups today, but otherwise it's pretty random. Which brings us to Nude by i-dle, followed by Myeon's Special Stage, which I'm going to predict we're going to be able to hear Soyeon, and that Myeon stage would be pre-recorded. Now, the reason I thought we would only hear Soyeon is because in the Melon Music Awards, I really could only hear her, though I was so surprised with Mama. We could hear other members doing ad-libs, it was beautiful, but I was just predicting that we would only be able to hear her. Which right off the bat, I could hear her, I could hear her backup track, I could hear her. Though for basically the rest of the members, I couldn't really hear them. Uki's part is just... The energy is in the voice, but we don't really see it in the face, in my opinion. But anyways, Myeon stage. I predicted it would be pre-recorded, but it doesn't sound like the other special stages. We're definitely hearing two voices compared to just one singular voice. So I was surprised. I was taken aback. I was like, does this fuck up my theory? So I'd love for you to let me know what you think. I would admit that the energy didn't like match super well, but it definitely sounded different. However, I did check out the original track, and that's basically what it sounds like. You have the singular voice and then many little voices harmonizing in the background. So my theory still remains that it's LAR. It almost sounds like we hear two voices because that's just how the song sounds originally. Moving on to TXT with opening sequence and Good Boy Gone Bad. And actually, I do think that they're singing live in this one. I was going to predict LAR because in the last performance, I think it was MMA, I feel like it was mostly lip syncing. And I do think they're singing live in this one with like a heavy backup track. But let's take a look at this example of Yeonjun's voice peeking through, which is different compared to their MMA performance where I couldn't hear him. But on the whole note of award shows editing their performances to shit, I'm wondering if he yelled something. Is he yelling something in this clip? I don't know if he's just making faces or if he like yelled something and they edited it out. Like, I want to know what he's saying. It sounds like it looks like he's saying Stray Kids. Probably not, but question everything, my friends. But we can definitely hear him screaming here. So there's that. Now we have i-dle, Le Sserafim, and New Jeans. I thought I would pile them together, share my predictions, and then what I was right and what I was wrong about. So for i-dle with Love Dive and Afterlike, I might have been proven wrong because I predicted it would be pre-recorded. But the thing is, I almost hear voices peeking through. It is so incredibly faint, and of course we don't hear any movement, but it's enough to make me question it. I really felt like I was hearing Yujin the most in the whole performance. Same goes for New Jeans. I was expecting them to be perfectly pre-recorded as they have been in the past with their performances. But again, I'm hearing like the faintest voices speaking through. Though Le Sserafim did throw me a little bit of a curveball because their Fearless performance seems like I'm hearing two voices. It's kind of like Myeon's performance. It's kind of like Myeon's performance where you're hearing these two voices, but you're just not sure if you're actually hearing anything at all. Though when we do get to Anti-Fragile, it does seem perfectly pre-recorded. I don't really hear any voices peeking through, and it's so clear, very clear. Again, mouth shapes not matching. Though I would put a question mark on New Jeans and i-dle because I don't know what I'm actually hearing. Like, I feel like I'm hearing voices, but there's really no movement. Though Wonyoung 1,000,000,000,000% is lip syncing for her solo performance. She's literally closing her mouth before her lines are over. Wonyoung was born to be in SM. Like, wow, how did she end up there? I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's true, but it's a joke. Same thing for Love Like Oxygen, though, which was Ateez? I forget what it was called, but we had New Jeans, Le Sserafim, i-dle, and Nmixx. Mouth shapes not matching, the whole shebang, you get the point. But now we have Ateez and Guerilla. I'm so excited because where have they been? They were on tour, but I really missed them in the award show performances. Now, if Ateez are lip syncing, I'll understand right now. Phew! I'm safe for now. But I did watch this with Audrey actually, and we both agreed that KBS did them dirty, or KQ, I don't know. I feel like if SM maintains their performances and JYP maintains their type of performances that are both typical to each company, then maybe this is KQ's fault. I don't know who to blame, to be honest. It was still a beautiful performance. Hongjoong, oh my god, he's literally, he's doing his thing. But my issue is that everyone else's mics seemed so low to the point where I couldn't hear some members at all. Like Jungwoo at first, I couldn't super hear him, but then in the end, it's like, oh, it's really clear. I mean, these guys are literally trying to throw in ad-libs here and there, and we can barely hear them. I feel like it's so muted. Again, I've mentioned this before. For example, Wonyoung in this part, it sounds so muted, right? So you would imagine when he's singing his part, it's also quite muted and you can't hear him too much. San as well, I feel like he was trying so hard to overpower that backup track with this ad-lib here. And then his voice at the end of the line, you hear it peeking through. There's like another example of Songhwa. It's so faint. So I don't know who to blame. Obviously, I'm being a lot more nitpicky because I stan Ateez allegedly. But where's Mingi's hand mic? They gave him a face mic. That is illegal. Long story short, I'm suing. Still a beautiful performance though. I really enjoyed it. I already saw Ateez live in person actually. Here's the link to the concert vlog if you want to check it out. No, but for real, beautiful performance. I really enjoyed it. And I would say Oneus' same scent is kind of along the same wavelength. We're not really hearing everyone, but we do see members trying to make an effort to do the ad-libs, to scream things every once in a while. It's just so sad when it's a little bit more muted, like you don't hear it with the intensity that I feel like they're trying to give. I say this all the time. I'm sure if you were there in real life, it would sound quite different, but I don't know. Just another example of doing everything right, singing your heart out, and the final product just doesn't really match. It was edited. I don't know. Everything does tend to be edited, even in real time. But anyways, Same Scent is a beautiful song. Highly recommended as well. So now we have Enhypen again. Even 2 years ago, Big Hit has like a monopoly on this shit. I feel like I've never not heard TXT or Enhypen, even BTS, but you know, they're on hiatus right now. We can't fault them for that. But you know, some of these award shows is like, oh, Ateez will come here, maybe there. Stacey wasn't there, but they're here. But TXT and Enhypen, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. I didn't mean that in any way, please. More so the mouth shapes aren't matching and all that jazz. I did browse through Pentagon's performance. I could hear some vocals peeking through, though again, not the clearest. Check out this next clip. Again, ad-libs that are like almost muted. Same for the Boyz. Here's an example of hearing them. But overall, again, super faint. This, however, just speaks to the state of live vocals in general. I feel like you're not going to go anywhere and not have vocal smoothing. But yeah, that is basically it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun going through all these performances. KBS is always the best, followed by Mama, I would say. But KBS gives like the most variety, the most special stages, even though they're not authentic in my opinion. But it was fun though, a little long. Don't forget to let me know in the comments down below who you think was singing live. If you disagree with anything I said, if you think I said someone was lip syncing but you clearly could hear them. I will say, if we hear someone so faintly and you really have to sit there and analyze to shit if it's live or not, I don't really consider that live. I want to hear some movement. I want to feel that energy. So yeah, there are performances where you kind of hear someone, you could argue they're singing live, but are they really? Are they really? Ask yourself these questions. But anyways, I'm gonna get going. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with friends you don't have. As for me, I'll see you guys next time. But don't forget, these are the lovely individuals who help support my channel on a monthly basis. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. If you'd like to become a channel member, you can do so by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button. As for me, I'm gonna get going. I already said that. Bye.